Edgar Allan Poe, born early 1809. Siblings he had two.
Daddy left early. Mom died when he was 3, bro. Was devastated.
Adopted by John. First name John, last name Allen. He had a nice wife.
Didn't like Bad John. Lil Poe likes Miss Allen. Good mother she was.
At age 3 plus 10, Edgar aspired to write poems. Headmaster no like.
1826, Virginia U. Edgar went. John did not fund him.
Gambled at school, lost big bucks at the card table, drank some alcohol.
Swiftly left the school. Fiance was not faithful. Boston bound. Grieving.
Poe joined the army, published a book and some poems. While there, his mom died.
Poe runs home swiftly, reconciles with Bad John. To West Point he goes.
John bangs a new babe. Poe leaves West Point despite John. Poe estranged John.
Looking for a job, concentrated on writing. Moved in with Aunt Clem.
Virginia lived there. Poe fell in love with her face. Personality.
1835, moved to Richmond to edit Jumbo magazine.
His love was to one. Virginia his beauty. Mary at 13.
They lived happily. Wrote some bomb stories. Raven was a hit.
A spooky story. It had valuability. Crazy conciseness.
The death of his wife, 18 plus 47, turned him to the gin.
Leaving from Richmond, gone on the way to Philly, Baltimore he stopped.
Death beckons Edgar. Taken to hospital. Oh, congested brain. Of many words spoken,
his last were of these. Lord, help my poor soul.
Sup, homie G's? What is hip and happening in the outside world? We've been stuck in this tree for another week and decided to keep annotating poems.
This week, we're talking about Poe's The Raven.
But in order to understand the poem, we have to know what movement Edgar Allan Poe is from.
He was a member of the Romantic Squad. The Raven is no exception to the romantic style that Poe usually wrote with.
The Raven uses 3 main romantic characteristics: imagination over reason, use of supernatural, and accent of mystery.
Before we talk more about the poem, let's listen to some of it being beautifully read by Morgan Freeman.
Once upon a midnight dreary, where I pondered weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at the chamber door. "Only this, and nothing more." Distantly, I remember, it was in the black December, and each separate dying ember wrote its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book's showcase of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare, radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here for evermore.
Alright, I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of what goes down in The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. In case you missed those first 2 stanzas, this guy is horribly depressed because his lover, Lenora, is dead. So he is chilling in his room reading books to stave off his depression when he hears a tapping. He checks his door first. Nothing there. He then checks his window by opening it and looking outside. Then this huge raven comes in and sits down on top of his door. Jokingly, this dude asks the raven its name, and surprisingly it responds with, "Nevermore." The narrator eventually figures out that this is all the bird can say and decides to ask it a bunch of questions, knowing the answer will be nevermore. As a result, they get pretty depressing pretty quickly, with questions like, "Is my wife in heaven?" and "Is there hope for my future?" In the end, the raven never actually leaves his house and becomes this kind of gargoyle-like entity that haunts him for the rest of his life.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for that. Let's discuss. In these first two stanzas alone, we see a brilliant rhyming scheme and heavy use of imagery that gives the reader a sense of how dark and depressing the world is. The narrator also mentions that it's midnight and December. These are typically both considered ends. Perhaps he is referring to it being a New Year's Eve, or maybe it's just the end of his current way of life.
As Harold Bloom, professor at Yale University, roughly says, because he uses big words and we know you wouldn't understand that, so we're paraphrasing. The third through sixth stanzas serve to show how isolated the speaker is. He has withdrawn himself from the community and trapped himself in a dark room where he experiences fantastic terrors. The speaker is so emotionally distressed that even things around the house are personified and given dreary qualities like his curtains and their sad, uncertain rustling. The speaker is quite terrified and repeats phrases to himself in a vain attempt to convince himself that there is nothing to be scared of. The speaker opens his chamber door onto darkness there and nothing more. The darkness and silence are intertwined. The speaker puts forth word to break that silence. Lenore? Oddly, his questioning tone echoes back to him as an exclamation. Poe uses auditory imagery relying on the echo and stillness of the hallway. This heightens the speaker's sense of sound and places an emphasis on the sound throughout the poem. This makes the original tapping noise grow louder.
Alright, first six stanzas down. How many left?
There are 18 total in the poem, so 12 left.
Dang, we're gonna be here a while.
Not unless we shift into maximum overdrive.
What does that mean?
Plagiarism.
But we can't do that.
Not unless we put quotations around it.
Now we're talking. This'll legally keep us under our time limit.
Let's be real. Neither of us know what we're talking about. Let's skip ahead to the part where he lets the raven inside.
Randall Huff said, seeking some diversion, the speaker wheeled a cushioned seat before this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, ominous bird of yore, and, linking fancy onto fancy, engaged in trying to understand the meaning of its croaking. Although he assumed a relaxed silence, he could feel the fowl's fiery eyes burning into his bosom's core. His head reclined on the velvet cushion upon which, alas, his departed Lenore would press, nevermore. The air seemed to grow denser, and he can hear the footfalls of angels tinkling on the richly carpeted floor. Calling himself a wretch for wasting so much time on his doubts, he thinks God has sent angels to momentarily relieve him of his suffering, and would eagerly quaff this nepenthe and forget his lost Lenore. But the bird ruins this reverie with his nevermore. Wow, that sure sped things up.
It really did. I think we have enough time to talk about the ending of the poem.
What is there to talk about?
Not much, really. The bird becomes a statue thing. His life becomes this hell-on-earth experience. Truly mortifying, if you ask me.
Wowza. Is there anything else to talk about in the poem?
He does make several allusions to Greek and Roman mythology.
That is so cool. But what does it add to the poem?
It adds... You know what? I don't know what it adds. I just know he does it.
I was testing you and you failed.
Well, do you know?
Actually, I do. The Greek and Roman mythological allusions add deeper meanings to the poem. Not only that, but they help him spit fire rhymes.
Awesome. You know what we can do? We can spit some fire rhymes in a song format. Wow. Cue song.
I grab my poems, I'm gonna annotate them all. I wanna read those poems all day long, all day long. I read Edgar Allan Poe every day. I read Edgar Allan Poe. I read Edgar Allan Poe every day. I read Edgar Allan Poe.